So it's finally happened, guys. PvP is now in Pokemon Go, and there have been a lot of changes to come with it. So in this video, I'm just going to do a quick rundown, breakdown of everything you need to know about these changes in Pokemon Go and how to be successful in PvP. So to start out, there is a second charge move we can now unlock. To unlock it, it's going to cost you some candy and some Stardust. Now, some Pokemon's pre-evolved forms have a much cheaper candy and Stardust cost, and if you unlock them when they're at their baby or lower form stage, having a second charge move will carry over to the evolution form, so that could be a neat way for you to save on candy and Stardust with this. Just to clarify with you guys, they will not keep their pre-evolutions moves. They will get their moves re-rolled when they evolve, but cheaper cost is a cheaper cost. So I mean, another cool thing with having the second charge move is when you use a charge TM, you can choose which charge move you want to change, and you won't get doubles. You won't get two of the same charge moves. That means Pokemon that know only 3 charge moves, which is the majority of them, now you can automatically choose which charge move you want, because you got 3 moves and 2 of them are selected and you can't get doubles. So yeah, this is a huge quality of life change and a huge resource investment change for people that want specific charge moves, because now you can basically auto get them unless your name's like Mew or Mewtwo and you've got like a bajillion different charge moves you can know. So that is also pretty huge. Another thing that has changed is type effectiveness. Super effective hits matter more now. Resisting attacks matter more now. So that is a change. And what's really neat about this change to me is that if you have a Pokemon that both is weak to an attack and is resisting that attack, so Steel type, weak to fighting, Psychic type, resists fighting, think about Metagross versus Machamp there, before it would read as a resisted hit because the old multiplier wouldn't equal perfectly 1. Well, now it does. So that is a nice UI change for the more casual players that aren't aware of type effectiveness. Now they won't be duped into thinking that Pokemon that are taking neutral hits are actually taking resisted ones. So that could also be quite helpful for many trainers. Alright, now let's get into the real reason why you're here. The charge move changes and who the best attackers are in PvP. So both fast moves and charge moves are changed wildly, but for PvP specifically, which is kind of confusing. So there are major changes to fast moves and charge moves when you go into a PvP battle, but for PvE content like raids or gym battling, they still maintain the same mechanics. So big question mark there. If you checked my previous content on PvP, one giant question mark is what are the best charge moves going to be, how are charge moves going to function, and in the last video, we were thinking that they were going to be closely related to what their base damage is. Well, that is not the case. Some moves are just wildly better than other moves. So I put this spreadsheet here, this Google Sheet, using data that Bioweapon from the Game Press team gave me. Link in the description to this spreadsheet if you want to check out yourself. But this is showing the energy cost of the charge moves in PvP, what their power is, and what their damage per energy DPE is. High DPE moves are going to be the better charge moves in PvP. And because of how shields work, you're going to want to focus on moves that also have a low energy cost. Conveniently enough, a lot of the high DPE moves also have a low energy cost. So I already have this sheet here sorted by DPE, and as you can see, low energy cost for a lot of these moves, high DPE, really good charge moves. You'll notice that the cream of the crop here is the Community Day starter type moves, so Hydro Cannon, Frenzy Plant, and Blast Burn, very busted moves. But Leaf Blade not too far behind, so other grass types can still compete reasonably. And yeah, so you can scroll through this, link in the description if you want to see what the good moves are. Definitely focus on high DPE and low energy delta, so low energy cost. Fast moves have changed too, and we got a spreadsheet for that as well. Instead of going by seconds, they now have turns. I'm not super familiar with the details on this, but it appears that for fast move attacks, instead of going second by second or moment by moment, millisecond by millisecond, they now have kind of like a turn-based system, just probably to make it a bit smoother for online play and localized play. So instead of being like, I guess, perfectly real time, there are kind of these hidden beats to PvP, and fast moves in PvP function off of those beats. They still have base damage and they still have energy gains, and given how important charge moves are in the game, I feel high EPS attacks are going to be more important than high DPS attacks. Of course, there will be some moves that are kind of middle of the road, pretty good EPS, pretty good DPS, those will probably be good as well. But at the end of the day, I think the charge moves are going to matter more than what the fast moves are. So all of this, of course, relative, right? But yeah, looking at the high EPS moves, you'll see Thundershock, Mudshot, and Psycho Cut are all doing quite well. But yeah, if you also see here though, Vine Whip is also pretty spicy. And it's got the 8 energy gains, 8 EPS, but it has 5 DPS, which is kind of higher than its high-end colleagues here. So looking pretty spicy with the Vine Whip. And Frenzy Plant also looking pretty spicy. So Venusaur and Meganium looking pretty hot for PvP in the lower leagues there. And of course, if you want to find out who the best PvP Pokemon are, we got plenty of resources here on GamePress. We got the comprehensive TDO spreadsheet, the DPS TDO spreadsheet. And if you want to use it for PvP, you have to select PvP mode here. Then you have to go to Customize, Mods, and then select PvP Move Parameter Overwrite, because the moves just function completely different for PvP than they do for any aspect of the game, which is kind of wild, but it just is how it is right now, right? So select PvP mode, and then this should give you the best PvP mons. Now right now it's just sorted by DPS, but if you remember from my previous content, TDO is going to matter much more. And you can see Lugia still at the top, finger in the air, really bust Pokemon right there for the PvP content, but Groudon also looking like a snack. Of course, we got the lower leagues, which what we're focused on internally in our hearts, or at least I am. When you type in the specific CP, you have to hit refresh again so it updates. And just to make this a little bit less clutter, let's go with the best Pokemon. And yeah, you can see that Meganium and Venusaur for the Ultra League are sitting at the top with Vine Whip, a busted attack, and Frenzy Plant, a busted attack. So really powerful grass type Pokemon there. You can see Blastoise is also doing pretty hot. So yeah, pretty awesome. With Meganium being really awesome, I know I got a follower here that's going to really be into that, the MJK 151 or 151 151 was asking me about Meganium specifically. In my last video, I kind of slept on Meganium, kind of left them in the dust there. But I think they will be very pleased to learn that Meganium is now one of the best PvP Pokemon just because of the circumstances of the attacks and Meganium's high natural bulk. So good job, Meganium. Now, of course, you're looking at Cresselia. Cresselia's looking pretty busted because it's got coverage against dark types, which counter it. So you may want to focus on steel type and bug type Pokemon to effectively counter Cresselia. And if you want to know how to effectively counter specific Pokemon on this, you can always put in the specific species here at the top. So we go Cresselia, it's a psychic type. It's using Psycho Cut. It's using Moonblast. What's good against that at 2500 CP? Well, we got 2 unreleased Pokemon, but then we've got Steelix, a Pokemon we have, and Typhlosion, also quite good, and Metagross, which is definitely one of the best Pokemon in the game. Meteor Mash, still busted, and of course, Blast Burn, busted. So yeah, so these might be Pokemon you might want to look towards to effectively counter Cresselia, because it's looking pretty hot. Now, of course, this is just a DPS TDO spreadsheet. Bioweapon has optimized it to work well with PvP to give people decent comprehensive results, but if you want to get the nitty-gritty super details, you'll have to go over to Go Battle Sim. So yeah, so you'll want to go over here to Go Battle Sim, and then once again, if you want to use it for PvP, you will have to hit Customize, go to Mods, and make sure it's updated for the PvP Move Parameters Overwrite, because everything changes between PvE content and PvP content. So if you update it with those mods and you put in your Pokemon, see how they do in PvP, see how well Pokemon that you want to counter other Pokemon do in PvP, this will give you more precise results than the DPS TDO spreadsheet will. Now, going back to the DPS TDO spreadsheet, one thing you might be questioning, curious about, is where's Blissey? Before, we were thinking that Blissey would be this super oppressive mega Pokemon for the Great and the Ultra Leagues, but it's not even making the front page here. Like, where'd it go? Going to the second page, still no Blissey. I mean, we're not sorted by best, so not exactly fair there. But yeah, we go to the second page, and we can see Blissey here. But, I mean, Blissey was supposed to be insane. Blissey was supposed to be this mega oppressive Pokemon, and it's falling behind a fighting type Pokemon, Hariyama even. What's going on with that? Well, if you go to the fast move spreadsheet here, and you look for Pound and then Headbutt, you will find that they are at the very bottom of the worst fast moves in all of PvP. Just terribly bad. Super low energy gains compared to other attacks in the game. This issue, coupled with Blissey and Chansey's high energy cost charge moves, makes it really hard for them to compete. they've got a lot of bulk, but they don't have the power to really back it up compared to other Pokemon. So of course, Blissey is still a great contender for the Ultra League, but it's not the indomitable pink Mega Wall that we thought it would be with what information we had before. So yeah, because of how fast moves have changed for PvP, Blissey just got the raw end of the deal there, and I can tell you I'm pretty pleased with that. I like Blissey not being this stupid mega monster. So definitely good job on Niantic there, taking care of the Blissey threat and making the PvP environment a lot more approachable than it appeared to be otherwise. But of course, if we go to unlimited mode here, the Master League Pokemon, we do see that Lugia is still on top, finger in the air, and the best Pokemon after Lugia is Groudon, using ground attacks, which Lugia has an immunity tier resistance to. So I think Lugia is going to be a pretty big deal in the Master Leagues. I personally haven't tested out PvP myself yet. I have a huge exam on Monday, so I probably won't be looking too closely at PvP stuff for the rest of the week and over the weekend. So sorry about that, guys. I'll try to keep you fed on my social medias, so if you want to follow me on Twitter or on Facebook, SwagTips, and I'll also be using the community tab here on YouTube to just feed you guys text-based updates on what's going on with what's good in PvP, but it's looking like Lugia is pretty good. So yeah, if you have tested out Master League PvP already, comment below, let me know what your experience is and how good Lugia may be. And if you've tested the Master League or the Great Leagues, comment below, let me know if Meganium is as busted as it appears on paper here. I mean, it's got the best fast move and it's got one of the best charge moves, so clearly Meganium's kind of stupid. I've been getting reports from Game Press members, and they just won't shut up about how stupid Cresselia is, so yeah, it might be good to have one of those steel types, or maybe Typhlosion as a Cresselia check as well. PvP is out now. So that about wraps it up for my quick rundown, everything you should know for PvP in Pokemon Go. Clearly, as we get more information, and after I'm done with my final exam and I can spend more time with PvP, I'll be able to update you guys on what truly the best Pokemon are, the best team comps, the best matchups, stuff like that. So definitely subscribe to SwagTips if you want to get that kind of information from me, the Swagman himself. And yeah, definitely super cool that Blissey and Chansey have been nerfed into the ground. They're still great Pokemon stat-wise for their various leagues, so they're still there. They're still decent, but they're just not as stupid as they were looking like they would be before we, got this update, and now their fast moves are just garbage. So yeah, if you got any questions on this content, definitely comment below, and I'll be happy to try to answer them. Just keep in mind that my response time is going to be way lower than usual because I've got one thing I'm worried about, and that's Monday, so yeah. Swag.